So we're here in HQ. We got it's not the most normal background, but I mean you got hoofbeats there, and this office is jam packed with Hambletonian history. Oh, right?
Yeah, we've got everything you can ever imagine as far that was written about the Hambletonian and harness racing in general here.
So eventually we're gonna have to get a bigger office, or no?
I think we have to clean some stuff out and,
Cleans.
and digitize some of this stuff.
Okay. So Harness Racing Museum, is that their job?
No,
Come
that's
on
our.
down, get down here, do some stuff,
I
right?
think it's our job. I think
Okay.
it's just, we just have to get around to it.
So we're going to split this up into two parts. This first part we're going to talk about new is president. That's the official title, right?
Yep.
President of the Hambletonian Society.
Yes.
How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Was this something that you had kind of thought would be a transition in your career, or just the opportunity arose and you jumped on it?
The opportunity arose, and it was something that I was very interested in. And I was certainly at the point in my career where any year could have been my last
Hmm.
driving. And when this came along, I thought it was a good transition for me. And I'm really enjoying the work. I'm enjoying the staff. Finding it quite interesting. Obviously, you look at things differently when you get on the
The
other
other
side
side, yep.
other side of some issues, and actually, you get a lot more of an education into some issues, which changes your thinking as well.
How hard has it been? Because we're about a year in, right?
Yeah,
Like
coming up to a year.
Right, like Tom Charters, a former president, he kind of when did he officially leave? After the Breeders' Crown in October?
Well, he was officially done with his full-time role. Tom is still here in a part-time role, and he's a great asset to Maura Fanning and myself. So he kind of comes and goes on his own schedule, and we can lean on him for counsel and and for advice at any time. So it's working out really well.
He shows up probably when there's no problems, right? He shows up on the good times and on the good days when
Well, his standard line, if there is a problem to anybody, is just go see John.
go see
So
John. Right, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So, I mean, you're the training wheels are off. You've had time to adjust, learn everything on how everything rolls. So
wouldn't say that.
no,
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 this is still a
this is
learning curve
still
that I'm under. There's a lot to learn, and I'm still, trying to figure things out and as we move along. So I don't think you ever learn anything or everything, as you go along. I think I'll be learning at this until the very end.
sure. Now, it's not just for anybody that doesn't know, this isn't just the Hambletonian and it's not just the Breeders' Crown. You guys handle a boatload of races, right? How many races total? How many stakes? Or what's like the overall uh, purpose of the Hambo Society?
Well, we administer to a number of stakes for various racetracks around the country. I'm not sure the exact number, but it's a fairly large number. We do the Yonkers stakes, we do Hoosier, we do some of the Ohio stakes, so and Freehold stake we had the Dexter.
Mhm.
So it's a massive undertaking keeping all these entries and sustaining payments, yearling payments, and all this straight. And I've got a wonderful staff. They just do a tremendous job with this, and that's part of the learning experience is figuring out for me to how all that works. So yeah, it's more than just the races that we're involved with.
Is it harder to add more? Because again, there's a lot of races, a lot of other stuff other than the Hambo and the Breeders' Crown. So are we trying to undertake more
Oh,
stakes races? Or are you absorbing other ones, maybe that were handled, I don't know, locally or by a single track? Are you absorbing more? You try, hey, come on, we'll handle it. We know how to.
we will handle it. We uh, haven't had any additions this year, other than we rejuvenated the 3-year-old pacing colts and pacing fillies for the Reynolds Memorial at Yonkers this Saturday,
Okay.
and we're very fortunate. Yonkers agreed to host that, and they got a really good response. 3 divisions of colts, 2 divisions of fillies, so we were really happy about that. But we're always in the market to administer to stakes for anybody moving forward.
Okay.
It's one of our fortes that we feel we do a great job at.
Now, this specific race, the Reynolds at Yonkers, when you kind of welcome that one in, what are some of the goals, or what was that process like? Are you saying, hey, we want a purse? Do we want rules or divisions, eliminations? How do you got, or do you work with that specific track to say, hey, let's figure out how we want to do it?
Well, the Reynolds, we wanted to go divisions because we didn't want to take up 2 weeks in the calendar with
Okay.
with that race. Our thinking was that would hopefully be a stepping stone for horses getting a race over the track before they went into the Lismore and the Art Rooney.
Hmm.
And we actually got a much better response from the harness racing community than we anticipated. Certainly didn't expect that many entries, so that's a bonus and just a plus. We're really happy about it, as is Steve Starr at Yonkers. He was really excited to get that many entries. So it was just something that we approached Yonkers with, and as I said, they were willing, and we're very grateful that they took it. And there's a lot of history to the Reynolds. It's a Grand Circuit Stakes, so you never want to lose stakes.
Hmm. Last thing about that is there. You guys seem to be flexible with the types of stakes races because you could have limbs, you could have divisions, you could have maybe straight to a final or things like that. So there's no specific one. Hey, this is a Hambo Society race. This is how we do it. You guys are pretty flexible on what you think is best for the horses and the community.
We are on to work with the various tracks to see what their needs are for
Mhm.
those stakes. Now, we're not flexible on the Hambletonian at
Right.
all. It's going to be raced in eliminations and heat rate format as of now. But the other stakes that we administer to, or some of the ones that we own, we work with whatever the racetracks think works the best for them, and we're willing to tweak. And Tom has done a tremendous job over the years. He moved some of these races that were stakes, taking payments as yearlings, to early closers,
Okay.
and that has been very successful in a number of cases in improving entries in those races.
And that's just like an early closer. Just basically, hey, a couple months before the race, gather up a bunch of money. Hey, these are the conditions for the race, and enter, and away you go. This way, you kind of know what you have as a horse, right?
Yes, for instance, the Reynolds, when we put it back on the schedule, we took two payments, one in February, one in March. The conditions, as I said, we're already set, and away we went, and we ended up getting a very good response.
Yeah, I mean, 3 months is, I think that's a generous amount of time to say, hey, I think I got a horse for that. So, as opposed to 2 years of payments, you may not get the amount of
Yeah,
entries.
and that doesn't work for every stake. I think the majority of stakes need to have those yearling payments to make them worthwhile. But when
Mhm.
you're talking about some of this uh, other stakes that maybe don't have the prestige, or just for people wanting a place to race to prep for a
Mhm.
big stake, I think the early closer format works very well.
I think prep is a good word. Like, you can have a prep race, and like you said, this is a prep race for the Rooney,
Well,
and
hopefully,
and the Lismore.
yeah,
So those are two separate stakes. One is prestigious, and then one's a prep. I think
yeah.
that's totally okay to have that.
And both of them, they're both prestigious enough because they're both Grand Circuit stakes. But one goes for more money than the other, and people can use this as a springboard right into the Rooney.
Hmm. So is there a goal as you're kind of learning your job? Is there, let's say in 5 years, is there certain things that you'd like as maybe the Hambletonian Society moving forward? You specifically is your job as president.
Well, we've got a number of projects. As far as the stakes, that's going to be fluid. We'll have to evaluate and be willing to move as depending on horse population, popularity, scheduling, and all that. So that's not really a goal. That's just something that we evaluate at the end of every year and try and put them out in the best format for the upcoming year.
Do you guys do it year by year, or do you plan more 2, 3, 4 years in advance?
It's year by year, basically. At the race secretaries meeting in December
Okay.
each year in Florida, everybody goes down with an idea of where they want to fit their stakes in, and then
Okay.
then they work around scheduling so there isn't conflicts, or as few of conflicts as possible. It's very
Sure.
difficult. It's like a puzzle fitting all those stakes in, and everybody thinks that there's so much time, but when you get looking at the stake season, we need more weekends between June 1st and November
I
1st, and
know, right?
we just don't have them.
Well, and it's tough for some of these horses. I mean, it's racing 8 months out of the year. Sometimes they got to race 3 weeks in a row, 4 weeks in a row. Some you got to pick your spots on when you can miss, when you could travel. Travel has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I think that's what you're seeing. Trainers are picking their spots a little bit more, and I don't have a problem with that. So if maybe the top horse doesn't go to a certain stake, somebody else is going to jump in and win that
Hmm.
money.
Hmm.
So the money maybe gets spread around a little better. But I think trainers have to be cognizant of their scheduling, and that's what you're seeing moving forward.
So overall, you guys are fluid with your stakes. Is there a personal, some goals that you've set? Because as a driver, you got to set some goals, maybe have some I'm going to work towards this or work towards that, work at a track. We've talked before. So what's your outlook as the president?
Well, one of the projects I started when I first came on with the Hambletonian Society was it's a movement to try and get universal rules throughout North America.
Okay.
And we formed a committee here in the United States, and they formed a committee in Canada as well. And actually, there's 3 or 4 of us that are on both committees, and we're going to try and get the rules mirrored up on both sides of the border and pass so that if they're not identical, they're at least similar. So a guy betting uh, in the simulcast parlor in Las Vegas, say, and he sees a race at Woodbine and a race at Yonkers, that the pylon rule would be the same, the braking rule would be the same, the whipping rule
Hmm.
would be the same. Now we're just in the middle of that process, and I want to stress it is a process and it has potential, but it's going to take a little while. But that's something I feel very strongly about, and I'm very involved with right now. So moving forward, that's the goal is to have racing rules for not only the bettors but for the participants when they move from track to track. They won't have to think about how they call this different here, the whipping's different, the
Hmm.
pylon's different. That it will be very, very similar in every jurisdiction in North America.
Well, and you probably would know that as one of the most because you were traveling a lot. You had probably had to, okay, I'm here. What track am I at? What are the rules here? What's the fair start rule? What's the whipping rule? When's it right? What's the
Yeah.
pylon rule? So it maybe makes your job a little bit more. Even if that quarter of a second you got to hesitate on, wait, what's the pylon rule? What's
Mm.
this? It's a little bit annoying. So if you just knew it all across the board, that's common sense, right?
It is
It's
common
common
sense,
sense.
and I found it frustrating from track to track, especially the whipping rule, and I got caught in that a couple of times moving from one jurisdiction to another. So I got fined a couple of times just forgetting where I was at, and I'm not the only one. It's frustrating for all the drivers. So that's something we're going to try and alleviate. As I said, it's a process, and it's going to take a couple of years before it'll come to fruition. But I feel pretty confident that we can get something pretty similar throughout North America within the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay, now let's say fast forward however long it takes the process, we get that situated all across North America. Now, do you say, hey, Europe, Australia, do you think those jurisdictions are too massive to try to get a universal harness racing rule, or we just kind of we think it's North America's good and we'll kind of go from there?
Well, if I get this done in North America, I'll be happy with that. I'm not going to tackle the worldwide
Okay,
harness racing
okay,
world. I just a man's got to know his limitations, and I'd be
okay.
quite happy if I can get this one done in North America.
Okay, so that's one of your it's one of your main goals here. Keep everything afloat, pretty much. I think you. How long has this been around? Or 90 plus years, right?
Yes.
So it's just a matter of keep it afloat and keep it moving forward, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, not only keep it afloat, we want to be progressive and we want to be moving forward on different initiatives. And there's going to be things that come up that we think will promote the sport of harness racing, and that's our mandate is to support and
Mhm.
promote the breeding of the standard bred. So eh, that basically means making any decision that's going to help racing anywhere. So yeah, we're not looking to be status quo. We want to be moving forward and progressive.
Yeah, you guys are in a good spot because you have, you're big enough and but you're kind of moldable enough to move in certain directions and kind of, hey, let's talk about this issue, let's move over here, let's promote here, let's go here. You're not restricted to one jurisdiction or one state or any of that stuff.
No, that can be a benefit in some things, but at the same time, we're not a regulatory body, so we can't make decisions. We can't
Hmm.
force decisions on anybody. We can only suggest or promote ideas. So that kind of can work 2 ways. But we have a good dialogue with all the racetracks and all the commissions at this time. So moving forward, I think whatever comes up that we feel will help anything in harness racing, we're going to promote and be out there pushing and prodding people to do more and,
Hmm.
and get the job moved forward.
I think the most important thing in any business, any industry, is what you talked about: dialogue and relationships. Because you can't get anything big accomplished if you don't have a relationship with somebody. I can't walk into somebody's office and be like, "Hey, this is a fantastic business plan. Let's do it." They're gonna be like, "Hey, who are you?" you
Mhm.
know. So small dialogue, small relationships on small issues is how you build that up, and then you can say, hey, all right, let's do something major. I think with this universal thing, you guys have the relationships and the plenty of people, like you said, committees to actually get this done because it is everybody working together.
Yeah, it has been, and it's been positive so far. I mean, the committee we formed in the United States, we had a meeting last January, and it went extremely
Mm,
well. We took a limited number of rule changes to the USDA directors in March, and we were very well received. They passed all but one, and that was just on a technicality
mm-hmm,
type of thing. And they're aware we're going to be bringing back a lot more next year, and they're very receptive to that. And it's the same thing in the committee in Canada. It's more regulator dominated in Canada, but we just got back from a meeting up there, and it went very well. There's Everybody is on the same page as far as uniformity. Everybody's willing to bend a little bit,
mm.
and I think you'll see some progress in the future.
Yeah, I just like that idea. Hey, here's a couple things. They're good. We got it passed. Next year, here's a little more, right? That's how you. I mean, not necessarily with the rules in general, but I think that's what Hambo does with, or the society does. It's just let's progress. Let's not throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, and
Well, it's going to be a pretty big
yeah,
batch of stuff to go to the USDA next year
be
because,
ready.
but a lot of these rule changes aren't really rule changes. They're sometimes just tweaking of the wording. Sometimes the rule is there and we've maybe tweaked the wording to try and bring attention to a rule that hasn't been called as often as it
Okay.
should be. So, some of them aren't, they're not that drastic of changes. It's just tightening it up. So, hopefully everybody can get on the same page.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So, anything else as far as this year? What are we looking forward to?
Well, we're obviously looking forward to Hambletonian. We've been
We're rocking and rolling.
planning that since last December. We began our meetings with the Meadowlands, and that's ongoing. We're really looking forward to Breeders' Crown in Pocono. Mohican Sun Pocono, I think, is a great venue. I think the racing will be exciting. Our entries were very positive this year for the Breeders' Crown, and so
Mm-hmm.
I expect there'll be lots of eliminations and they're between the Pennsylvania Harness Horsemen's Association and the Mohican Sun people. They've been great to work with, and it'll be their third time. And I think it's going to be bigger, better than it was even the second time, and that was an all-time high for Pennsylvania Harness Racing's
Mm-hmm.
card. So there's a lot of things that are positive and that we're really looking forward to and excited about putting on this year.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, John.